All right, welcome everybody to Legal Tech Week. This is the show where we talk about the top stories in legal tech and innovation from the past week. My name is Bob Ambrogi. I am the host. I have the blog Law Sites and the podcast Law Next. And our panelists today, first of all, we have a ringer sitting in here joining us today, David Horrigan. David, I love your background, and I'm sure you can explain later why that is. But
Yes.
you
Well,
want to
thanks
introduce
for
yourself?
having me,
Yeah.
Bob. And yes, when we get into the discussion of our dear friend Monica Bay, we'll explain why I am gagging as I have the scene behind me.
All right. And Joe Patrice.
Hi, Joe Patrice from Above the Law and the Thinking Like a Lawyer podcast. And I do not have an awesome backdrop like David does, but I tried to play with iPhone features today to like make cool images happen, and I failed. So if anybody knows how to do that, let me know.
You've got a pretty awesome background going on there, even if it's not virtual. And Victor.
Hi everyone, Victor Lee from the ABA Journal. Um, I have my dog here. She's been snoring for the last like hour or so. So if you hear any noise during the course of this conversation, that's probably her.
Great. And hot off the flight from Morocco, Stephanie Wilkins.
Yes. Way to blame the dog, Victor. Anyway, Stephanie Wilkins, editor-in-chief of Legal Tech News at ALM, current editor-in-chief. I know we will be talking a lot about one of my predecessors today.
We will be. Yep. Well, uh, sure enough, before we get to some of the news this week in the world of legal tech, we did want to take a few moments to kind of stop and remember and celebrate, I think, Monica Bay, who died this week at the way too young age of 74. For some of us on this panel and in the audience today, Monica was a longtime dear friend. Some of you probably never knew her, and some of you might never have even heard of her. But for almost 2 decades, for 17 years, she was the editor of Law Technology News, which was the magazine, the long time ALM magazine that has morphed into Legal Tech News that Stephanie is now the editor of. And Monica really, in that role, kind of reigned supreme over the world of legal tech. There was nothing that happened in legal tech that Monica didn't know about or talk to the people or in some way maybe even influence. And I think beyond even that, Monica was really, she was a mentor to so many people. She was a role model to so many people, particularly a lot of women in the legal tech world. And she was just a dear and trusted friend to a lot of people. I knew Monica going back to the beginning of her time at Law Technology News, and probably before that. I don't actually remember when I first met Monica, but I do remember meeting her when she was literally putting her very first issue of the magazine to bed, because she called me in a little bit of a panic about the day before, I think it was, because somebody was supposed to have written something fell through, and she had a hole to fill. That was in the days when print publications actually had holes to fill. And she asked if I could write something about the Y2K bug that everybody was panicking about way back then. And I did that. And next thing I know, she had roped me into writing a column in every issue, which I did for another 15 years after that. And of course, I also worked at ALM in New York, and got to see her in the offices on a regular basis, and was friends with her for a long time. So what we're going to do today, before we get to the other stories, I am going to, first of all, I want to hear a little bit. I know in particular, Victor worked with Monica, and David worked with Monica, and knew her in a number of ways. I want to hear from panelists. And then I'm going to, if anybody in the audience wants to hop on their mic, after we hear from Victor and David, I'll invite you to do that by raising your hand, and I can open your mic up and let you talk if you want to do that. And then we'll get to some of the stories this week. But Victor, you worked with her in a lot of ways. Kind of got your career on the track it's on in some ways from working with her. So why don't we hear from you first?
Yeah, and like yeah, I echo everything you said. I mean, I kind of fell into it kind of a little bit backwards. Like, um, you know, I think around 2013, I guess it was, when I was at ALM. So I was already hired at the American Lawyer as a magazine writer and whatnot. And so then they brought in like these management consultants. If anyone didn't watch Office Space, it was basically these two Bobs where they were literally in a conference room for like months, and like writing stuff on the board and like having these like not so clandestine meetings because we all knew they were there.
Be
And
careful of
so
Bob's.
yeah. So we all knew what they were there for. Like they were there to figure out who they were going to lay off. And so finally, on like the day after they left, that's when the layoff started. Like we knew they were coming. We didn't know whether it was going to be like an immediate thing or whether it was going to be like, oh, they're going to write a report and then they're going to implement it. But no, it was immediate. And so Dave Brown, who was the executive editor at the time, called me into his office. And he never called me ever. Like I don't even think he knew who I was. But he called me into his office. I was like, oh shit, I'm getting fired. So I walked in and like Monica was there, and I was just like, okay, well, he's not going to fire me in front of her, right? I mean, unless she's like the new like, unless she was there to make sure I didn't like trying to kill him or something, which don't put it past me. But then it's like I remember so they said like we eliminated your job. We wanted to figure out a way to keep you, and you'd written some tech. I mean, I'd written some tech articles for the American Lawyer, and I guess Monica liked them. And so, they asked her whether she'd be willing to take a chance on me, and she said yes. And I was surprised because like I didn't really know her that well. She was kind of like she was kind of a mythical character, even like, back then. I mean, for me, like, we were kind of siloed with like our own little group. Like, I pretty much only talked to like, the magazine folks or like, maybe a few people here and there. So I never knew much about her, but she always kind of like had this like kind of like essence or aura about her that was intimidating, but also like like you knew like she was just like the person for this kind of stuff. And so I mean, I remember just thinking back on it this week, I was just like, yeah, man, she could have just been like, no, I don't want him. I want an experienced writer. I want someone who knows what they're doing. I'm not here to like babysit or like hold someone's hand. But she took a chance on me, and like you know I learned so much from her. There's stuff that I still rely on, and I mean, I only worked for her for 6 months because I was already looking for other jobs at that point, even before I started working with her. But sometimes people just make an impact on you no matter how much time you spend with them. And like I learned a lot from her, just as how to approach tech stories. I learned a lot from her about how to like write them. I mean, I still use a lot of lessons that she taught me to this day. I mean, like one thing that I really remember is that like she said, don't ever take someone's word if they say that they're the first ones to do it or if they're the only ones to do it, or blah blah blah. Because chances are there's someone else out there and they're gonna be pissed, and then you have a whole shitstorm you gotta deal with. So that one's always stuck with me. And then also, she liked to say the perfect is the enemy of the good. And that was another thing that kind of stuck with me as well. And I just learned so much from her. And then she's such a warm person. Like she was so like just like I mean, obviously, like I said, she knew everything. She knew everybody. She was respected by everybody. And, looking back on it, it's kind of like, well, yeah, of course, she didn't feel too worried about having me work for her because she was ultimately the one in charge. So, I couldn't really mess up as long as she was, supervising me. So, it was a great security blanket to have. And I still relied on her even like after I left, like especially after I became a lawyer, not lawyer, after I became an editor, I would still like call her up and ask her for advice and whatnot. Um, and the last time I spoke with her, it was difficult, and I do want to. I mean, I don't think they're, but I mean, I do, want to express appreciation to her family for taking care of her. Like, these kind of things are always tough to some people like them, on your family members and whatnot. And I think Bill and especially they really did a lot of great work the last few years, just taking care of her and making sure she was okay and whatnot. And so it's a sad, it's obviously a sad occasion, but considering everything that I've gotten from her and everybody else here, has gotten from her. It's nice to be able to see everyone just kind of talk about the impact that she had and the influence that she had, and just kind of remembering that, because that's how I remember her. Just the ultimate teacher, the ultimate mentor, and just the ultimate friend. I mean, she was a good person, and I'm gonna miss her a lot. So thank you, Monica.
Yeah, that's a great tribute. And the Bill that you mentioned is her brother, Bill Bay, out in California. Um, some people may wonder why I'm not just jumping right to Stephanie, who's her sort of her successor. But Stephanie, you never knew her, right? Did you ever meet her at all, or?
No, I did
No.
not. I've obviously heard a lot of stories about her. I mean, I heard a lot of stories about my predecessors. And they've
Yeah.
all been fascinating. A lot of it was what Victor said, a lot of stories about what words you could use and what words you could not use. And it's funny, a lot of the things I start to hear about her now, I do find I'm similar in. So I think that's interesting. But yeah, I take it
Yeah.
as a compliment that multiple people have told me that they see some Monica in me. But I
Yeah.
wish I had met her and gotten to know her.
Yeah. You would have liked her, and she would have liked you. Um, David, you definitely knew Monica. Tell us about some of your memories of her.
Gee, Bob, we could have 5 edition
We
episodes
could.
on great Monica stories. As Bob knows, because he was my boss at the time, I met Monica on September 11th, 2001, where we both went down to cover the attacks in the World Trade Center for ALM. And it's funny at the time that no one considered it a legal technology story, and no one. Bob and I had a colleague who shall remain nameless who said, "Why do you need to go down to the World Trade Center? This isn't a legal story." But of course it was. But there were more than that person who questioned whether it was a legal technology story. And it was, because we now live in this era of cloud computing. Those of us who are already in the workforce in 2001 will remember cloud computing. Yeah, maybe if you paid 7 figures for disaster recovery, they could try to get your stuff back, but you were toast. And so it was, in fact, a legal technology story. And so Monica and I ended up going down there, and she had to stop for supplies. And we were partnered with 2 lawyers, not lawyers. Actually, I think one or both of them may have been lawyers, but they were reporters for the American Lawyer. And they were eager to get down there. And Monica's like, I got to stop for supplies. And at this time, stuff is still going on. We didn't know whether there were going to be more attacks, more bombings, what was going to happen. And so I said, I got to wait with Monica. I'm like, oh, well, you're missing out on the story of a lifetime. And that is what was happening. But Monica and I ended up getting down there, and they didn't. It was just freaky. And I could take the entire program talking to you about how we got down there, how we got back. The one thing I will add is that Monica and I had to get back to the New York Law Journal by 5 p.m. So we got a rickshaw. That was the only way to get to the streets of Manhattan. And if you've ever seen Monica Bay hail a cab, you haven't seen anything till you have seen her hail a rickshaw on the afternoon of 9/11. It was a sight to behold. There was Monica, of course. Victor brought up the verboten Vorta, the words that are forbidden, and solution is the biggest one. And it's now like fingernails on a chalkboard to me, because people in tech, I don't think, realize how often they say solution. It's all the expletive time. And so Monica banned it. And then at 451 Research, there was another 4 years of my life where solution was banned. So there's that one. There's the cheaters interview style. Monica was a big fan. If you believe it or not, there used to be Legal Tech New Orleans. And so Monica and I were down there for that. We're stuck at the New Orleans airport. The Bloody Marys at the New Orleans Louis Armstrong International Airport are exquisite. And if you're stuck there drinking them, watching the TV show Cheaters, watch the interview style of the guy after the paramour is busted for the unfaithfulness in the relationship. The Cheaters interviewer is in there with probing questions. Monica was a fan.
That's great, and I mean I so vividly remember that day 9/11 for so many reasons, of course, but I remember the 2 of you getting back, and Monica just took these just horrific but amazing photographs, of what you saw there, and you came back with these tatters of papers and things, that charred tatters of papers that were kind of floating in the air, where they were like legal briefs and legal documents and all sorts of things that you found there. Certainly a day that forged a friendship that lasted for the rest of your lives, for you and Monica.
Well,
Joe, did you
by the
know
way,
her at all?
I'm sorry, Bob.
Yeah.
One last thing I'll say is that
Yeah.
I guess I should tell the viewers why that evil Empire Death Star is behind me. And that is because, as
Okay.
you know, Monica was a huge fan of the New York Giants. Oh, she probably liked the Giants too, but the New York Yankees. And she had tickets, and ALM, of course, had tickets for years. Hey, Stephanie, does ALM still have season tickets to the Yankees? You should get them if they do. But anyway,
They're keeping
Monica
it
was,
secret from me if they do. I don't know, but doesn't mean
yeah,
they don't exist.
yeah, those were the old days. That was, gosh, Bob, too long ago. But anyway, Monica would get the tickets a lot, and other people went. Whether Monica had her own private tickets, Judge Peck would go a lot, and Bob and I guess, would trek her in one time. And I don't know where the photo is, but I went to Yankee Stadium with a Boston Red Sox cap on with Monica. She was, of course, going into apoplectic seizures, but the New Yorkers could not have been more charming and warming. I mean, it was just wonderful. They embraced me with open arms. And here's to you, Monica. How many great experiences.
It's so funny. After looking at some of the comments, I wrote a story last week about her death and put it on LinkedIn, and the LinkedIn post generated so many comments. But I think almost everybody who commented had a baseball story or a solution story about Monica. I thought that was really funny. But now that you're a relativity, you can say solution all you want, right?
Yeah. Still verboten, Bob. Still banned. Offering.
All right. Over on the dark side there. No kidding. Joe, did you know Monica at all, or did you?
Yeah. So like you may have known if you're like a longtime viewer, listener to this show, so many people say I do this and also write for Above the Law. When she left ALM, we brought her on to write for Above the Law, and she had a column with us for a while. The first time I met her is right after we had brought her on. I actually hadn't met her before. We walked in and we were going to have a panel discussion that I was moderating with me and Ellie Mistal and her. And so I didn't know her at all. And it was something that I probably should have been more prepped on. I expected kind of a very calm panel discussion and just firecracker from the beginning. Like we went through, like, it was a conversation about just like the business of law, but we went into digressions about rock music that she covered back in the day, and legal tech, which it wasn't even necessarily what we were talking about at that point, and partners and the problem with equity partners. And it was just it was wild, because especially because, like, with Ellie, her, and me, like once we all figured out our rhythm, it was a really fun show. And I didn't know as though there was any recordings of it, and then I found that we had a recording of it, which I listened to earlier this week, which was a lot of fun too. So yeah, no, I met her then, and then I met her a few more times after that, and she was always so warm and excited to chat. Even, like, we didn't know each other all that well. She would ask questions about like previous things that we had done together, and I was like, yeah, no, we did this and that, and she always was excited and warm to talk about those things, and it was great. She was so wonderful, and even though I didn't know her as well as a lot of other folks did on this call, I thought she was one of the best people I met in this job.
Yeah, well, that's true. All right, let's turn to the listener lines. No, I did want to see if anybody in the audience wants to. I see a couple of hands going up. So Cindy Fox, I think, if that hand is up on purpose, I'm going to let you. I'm going to click.
Bob, I saw Tredenick in there as well, volunteering.
Yeah, I see a few more. But Cindy, I think, did you want to talk? Or was that a mistake?
You might have to unmute her
I did.
Oh,
Ask.
That
Oh,
was
okay.
a mistake. That's a
There you
wonderful
go.
Friday afternoon. Yeah, mistake. Sorry about that.
No problem. Okay. All right. Well, we will go to John Ternanek. John.
Hi, guys.
Hey, John.
Hey, John.
Is there video as well or just audio?
I think it's just, let's see, can I do your video? I can promote you temporarily to a panelist if you want. You want video?
I'm happy to do it. Wave to everybody. But I don't need to stay up there.
I think I just did it. There you go. There you are.
Hey, everybody. It's
Hey,
good to
John.
see so many familiar faces. I thought I'd share a couple things with you. So I go back with Monica to, I guess it had to be 98 or 99 or 2000. And I don't know the timeline of quite when she started, but she was pretty new back then. Is that jibe with the timeline you guys remember?
98 is when she started as editor of Law Technology News.
There you go.
And,
So,
and not that everybody in the world doesn't know who you are, but you might want to just say real quick who you are.
Oh, hell, I'm just a viewer.
All right, but that's good.
I'm the founder of Merlin Search Technologies.
By the way, John, next time I introduce you on any program, I'm just going to say, and it's John Tredenik. He's just a viewer.
Hey, we released Build 100 today of our software, full LLM integration. I'm so excited. But it was 20 years building Catalyst before we sold it, and 20 as a trial lawyer and a partner at Holland and Hart. And it was as a trial lawyer and partner at Holland and Hart, I got to know Monica in those early days, I guess, because of the Catalyst spin out and some writing. But I go back to Rio de Janeiro, and there was an international law firm that wanted me to come and speak about all this new technology in Rio, and actually wanted me to organize a program. But they didn't have any budget to pay anybody. And my firm was part of this international consortium, so I could go, and Todd Miller, an old partner of mine, could go, but they wanted some other speakers. And I was thinking of the Jim Canes and some of the other Idlemans, pioneers, but they weren't about to fly to Rio to give a talk for free, not without their expenses. So it was kind of a stumper. And I'd gotten to know Monica, and it hit me that, oh, Monica might like to speak, and maybe her group would pay her way, do it for free. And I called her, and she said, you know, they've asked me to get out and speak more, and I think this might work. And she got totally excited about this trip to Rio, and well, she should have. And so we get down there, and Beth Kellerman, who you might know from Apple, happened to be down there, not in that role, but as a pitch hitter for a consulting group she's with. So several of us down there having a ball, but the conference came up, and we're sitting there the night before. I've got my program together, whatever, nothing new. And Monica confides in me that she's never given a talk before, let alone a keynote. And suddenly it's hit her. She's naturally scared to death. And so I jump in into this newfangled thing called slides. I think it was Harvard Graphics back then. And I said, I'll help you out. I'll make a deck. And boy, what a kick of downloading images through a phone modem, all the way from wherever, to put pictures on our slides and to set them up. And we worked well into the night to get her ready, like way late. And then it came time to give her advice on the keynote. And I said, Monica, I got one piece of advice for you, and you got to get it right and get it in your head. And she's like, what is that? And I said, what you do when you start this talk, you do not say, well, my name's Monica, and I've never given one of these talks before, and I'm trying not to bore you too much. We'll get through this quick, and you can have lunch. And she's like, what? And I said, no. You tell them your name and how excited you are to be talking about this great topic, and you never let them see you sweat, so to speak. And I practiced with her, and she kind of got it. and she went off to go to sleep, and me too. And the morning came, and it's the only conference I've ever seen where we had a brownout, by the way, right in the middle of the day. But the time came for old Monica to get up, and her deck's ready, excited to go, and she's nervous as hell. And how do you think it started, guys? Hi, I'm Monica, and I never did this before. I'm really nervous. I'll try not to bore you. And I just went, oh man. It's like my days of preparing witnesses for deposition. And you might know that the first thing you say is only answer the damn question and not another word. And the witness says, I got it. And they say, what is your name? I'm Jane Smith, and I really didn't know anything about this except I did. But we became fast friends, and of course, she became a wonderful speaker because all of us started that way. And I'm proud to say, and she would too, that Monica and I slept together in Europe, in London.
More
And
details than we needed, John.
That raised some eyebrows. You remember when they were doing Legal Week over in London? And I went, and she was there. And you know how that is to pop over there, particularly the jet lag's bad. It's tough. Yeah. And we're over there the day before in the conference room. We were getting ready, and we're hanging out, and nothing to do that night. And Monica said, well, there's this play I want to see. It's big rage in New York. It's called Art. This is a long time ago, and there's a good reason if you don't remember it. But she said, I'd like to go. And I said, damn, I'd do that. I heard about the theater in London. Let's go. So the two of us went, and we're able to get tickets. And we're sitting there. I can still picture it in the, not front row, but, 30 rows up, center, pretty good seats. And it had these good reviews. And it was the most boring damn play I've ever seen in my life. And there we are sitting, and it's jet lag because halfway through the first half, I'm snoring, and she's like, whack, 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 wake me up. And I'm embarrassed a little, but I mean, you're beat. And there's the second act, and she's snoring, and I whack her. And I said, Monica, we can tell people we slept together in London.
That's great. Well, John, I really appreciate your sharing those stories, and I'm sure you have many, many more. But let me try and get a few more
No
people
problem.
in here. And thanks a lot. Live from Colorado, that was John Turdenick. You're in Colorado, right? I assume.
Yep.
Yeah. All right.
Beautiful
I'm going
sunny
to
day.
demote you, and thanks a lot, John. Appreciate it.
Good to see all you guys.
Yeah. Why am I not demoting you? Hold on a second.
I'm demotable.
You are demoted. It's not letting me do it though. There you go. He demoted himself. Good. Okay. Kathy Kenton, are you ready to go? How about that? Kathy, you got video? You got audio? You want video, or you good with?
Oh, I don't care either way. Hi, thank you for including me.
I'll put you on video if you want.
Sure, why not? I'll put my hand down so we don't have to look at my hand.
And where's the video going? Didn't happen. What did I do? Kick you out?
Okay.
There you are. Well, we can still hear you. There you go. Okay.
Here I are. Okay. So first of all, I have to thank Monica for introducing me to David. As many people know, David and I are very dear friends. We met because of her relationship with David, her meeting David at 9/11. I'll never forget, I was in New York for September Legal Week, right after 9/11, which ALM said, I was the director of marketing at the time for law.com, and ALM said that they were absolutely going forward with the conference. And I told my team they didn't need to go to New York if they weren't comfortable, that I would go and take it over. And the first night that I got there, Monica said, you've got to come to dinner with me and meet this new guy that I met while I was covering the event, and his name's David Horrigan, and we've been invited to meet David and some of his friends at a restaurant in town. And I guess that was kind of the beginning of the end. Obviously, I think I met you, Bob, through Monica at the time. We were all kind of working together. My relationship with Monica goes back to before she moved to New York. She was writing for the Recorder, and I was in San Diego as the VP of Sales and Marketing for Abacus Law, and so we had some conversations. My favorite story that I like to share, and I'll try to keep this as short as possible. We were in LA for Legal Tech LA many years ago, and Monica said, "Hey, come to I have tickets for the Dodgers versus the Yankees. Why don't you come with me?" And I thought, well,
There's always a baseball story.
Right.
Story, and like David, because my husband is from Boston, I'm really more of a Red Sox fan than a Yankees fan, and I'm also a Padres fan instead of a Dodgers fan. So I thought, okay, I can go. I want them both to lose. I really don't care who wins. Monica and I are not going to get into a pissing contest because she's in favor of the Yankees and I'm in favor of the Dodgers. So I thought this will be a good neutral ground. I drove. I had driven to LA and I picked up Monica. We went to the game. I had one beer when we first arrived at Dodger Stadium. And coming back from the game, I was dropping her off and then driving back to San Diego. So it was about 11:30, quarter to 12. I'm driving through the streets of LA to find Monica's hotel. We get to a place where the street turned into a one-way going the other way, and I had to make a turn. Immediately after making the turn, I was pulled over by the highway patrol, who decided that I had made the wrong turn. And they wanted to do a field sobriety test, and I submitted to that, and I wasn't drunk by any measure. And Monica piped up with, "I'm a licensed attorney in California." And she's sitting in the passenger seat going off about why this was inappropriate. And I'm like, "Monica, I'm going to end up in jail if you don't be quiet. So please be quiet." She finally piped down. They let us go. I took her to her hotel. I dropped her off and then drove 2.5 hours back to San Diego, arriving in the middle of the night. I decided I wanted to fight the ticket because it was wrong. In hindsight, I probably should have paid the $200 fine and gone to traffic school. But with Monica's encouragement and a letter in my pocket from her about how this was absolutely a miscarriage of justice, I made 3 trips to Los Angeles to traffic court and ultimately had the matter dismissed when the highway patrolman didn't show up for the court date. And I was, like Monica, rather resentful that I didn't get my day in court. And I kept saying, "But I want to tell my side of the story." And everybody was like, "Kathy, down girl, take your win and go away." So, but thanks to Monica, she almost had me thrown in jail. So that's my Monica story.
So well before there was Do Not Pay, there was Monica Bay.
Very good.
Absolutely.
Hey, Bob, I think Kathy brings up an excellent point. How many people on this program know someone else on this program because of Monica Bay? I met Judge Peck 20 years ago. I've had him at Relativity Fest for the judicial panel for years, met him through Monica. I mean, dinner with Monica and him one night. Gretchen DeSutter had some great stories in the chat. Longtime legal technology aficionado. I and Bob, I think you too met Gretchen through Monica. So Monica was just great bringing everyone together.
I knew Gretchen before Monica was born. That's
Yeah.
No, Gretchen, I literally met, like, Gretchen, who was in the audience, can confirm this. Like, I think within the first week or two or month, anyway, of first starting at Thomson Reuters. Way back when. We used to have a thing called the editor exchange, and I was on the planning board for that, and went out to meet, and they had just hired Gretchen, and she was helping us plan that editor exchange.
Yeah, I mean, to kind of piggyback off what
Yeah.
David said, it was just like, even now, it's like whenever I'm looking for people to interview or just talk on background or like potential podcast guests, very often I'll find myself going back to like my old email archive and be like, oh, okay, well, Monica introduced me to John Tridetic, or Monica introduced me to, this person, or what else, and then I'll just cue that up, So yeah, I mean, yeah, just watching her at Legal Tech, it was like it really was like watching a rock star. Like, it was kind of like she knew everybody wanted to talk to her, everybody wanted to like be around her. So it's kind of like, because even though I worked for her, I rarely ever spoke to her during Legal Tech, because she always had like a crowd around her. So
there's somebody on the phone, I think, who wants to be able to talk but can't raise their hand. I'm trying to figure out. There's several people on the phone. I'm not sure which one it is. So if you can let me know that.
I mean, according to the chat, there's some folks. John Bream apparently is on the phone,
Right.
but
Right,
yeah.
but there's two different phones. I'm not sure which one
Oh,
is hit. Although one's 612, and I think John is in Minneapolis, right?
right. That would be my guess.
Maybe I'll try that. All right, I've just let 612-599-4026 talk. Is that John? Maybe not. Kathy, I'm going to.
It's muted.
yeah,
it's
I
muted.
think it's muted still.
That line is muted, so you might need to
all right.
unmute it.
I'm trying to unmute it.
There we go.
All right, Kathy, thank you. I'm going to drop you down. John?
Hi, Bob.
Yeah.
This is John Bream at the Minneapolis Star Tribune. How are you?
I'm very good. Heard your name many times.
Yeah, Monica probably referred to me as JB.
Yeah.
I've probably known Monica longer than any of you all, and you can probably blame me for getting her started in journalism. We go back to 1971.
We won't hold that against you.
Okay. We go back to 1971. I was the assistant arts editor at the University of Minnesota Daily, which at the time would have been the equivalent of the local alt weekly, although we were daily, but we had an entertainment section that came out every Friday. And we ran an ad of this guy at a typewriter. This was back when we still had manual typewriters, in the Minnesota Daily office, and Robert Zimmerman of Hibbing, Minnesota got his start writing at the Minnesota Daily. Why don't you sign up to be a critic? That would be Bob Dylan, of course. And Monica responded to the ad to be a music critic. And I thought there was some promise in her writing, and I said I was the assistant arts editor, and I said to my colleague who was the boss, I said, there's no women writing about music. Let's give her a shot. So we hired Monica, and I guess she would probably blame me for making her such a tough editor, because I was a fairly demanding editor. A 20-year-old smart aleck telling a 22-year-old grad student how to write. And I did learn that she became a great editor, as all of you folks certainly know. I wrote a few pieces for some of her law publications. I remember one I did on politicians turned rainmakers, and I interviewed Vice President Mondale for that. But as you all learned over the years, Monica is a very strong personality. She was very determined. She was very assertive. And she always made a memorable impression. And maybe back in the early 70s, it was because not only her personality, but her look. She wore short skirts and heels in an era when everyone else was wearing like bell bottoms and earth shoes. And I'll tell you one rock and roll story we had. I after leaving the college newspaper, I became the music critic at the daily newspaper in Minneapolis, and I still am, 48 years and counting. And Monica started out in sociology grad school, switched to journalism, abandoned that, and went back to San Francisco to go to law school. So I went to 1976, Thanksgiving weekend, I went out to the band's Last Waltz. Many of you may know who the band was. Great group from Canada. It was going to be their last show. It's a famous film made by Martin Scorsese, and all stars were playing there. Dylan was playing there, Neil Diamond, Van Morrison, Joni Mitchell. Everyone was singing there. So I get a couple of press passes. And back then, things were a little looser than they are now. So the press pass got us backstage. And, you know, you're walking around backstage. You know you don't belong there, but you're there, so you're going to go. It's free. You look over your shoulder. You see this one door, and it has a Groucho nose on it. And you realize this is not the powder room as to powder your face. This is the powder room as in the cocaine powder room. And Monica goes, she sees someone, she recognizes, she says, "Oh, there's Steve Stills. I interviewed him from Crosby, Stills and Nash." So we walk up to Steve Stills. Of course he remembers Monica. He doesn't know me from Adam, but everyone remembers Monica after they've met her once. You know, she makes herself so memorable. And so there's Monica and I and Steve Stills. And then I look up and realize, no, it's not just Steve Stills, Monica and I. It's Steve Stills, Ringo Starr, and Eric Clapton. And these two yokels are sitting there talking to her only because Monica got us in there. And, you know, I kind of look back at Monica's life and career. Everything with her was sort of unpredictable and unconventional. You know, she didn't follow the path of getting married and having kids that her parents probably wanted her to. She became a female rock critic at a time when there were very few of those. She became a lawyer who didn't really practice law. And she became a Yankee fan, which the Monica I knew before then didn't know a football from a basketball.
Yeah.
And here she was, she became the most rabid Yankee fan ever. And I think there's probably not one person who's on this call who didn't go to a Yankee game with her. And, you know, we all have many, many memories of Monica. And I could share many because she was such a loyal friend. When I sent my son off to college at Boston University, being a lowly, low-paid working journalist and having to shell out $50,000 a year for tuition for my son at a private school, I find out 2 weeks before Thanksgiving that school's closed for Thanksgiving. So it's like, what are we going to do? I don't have the money to buy a ticket now. It wasn't in my budget, wasn't in my planning. Lo and behold, I call Monica. She says, "Sure, have Andrew come down and spend Thanksgiving with me." So he got on the bus. Monica picked him up, showed him around New York. And that's just the kind of friend she was to all of us.
Yeah, John,
Thank you for
just
letting me
great.
share some ancient memories.
Yeah, those are really great memories. I really appreciate that perspective of the kind of the pre-legal tech Monica. We've all heard stories from her of those days, but never from never from a second source to confirm them before. So that's really great. I really appreciate it. Thanks.
Thank you.
Yeah. Now, is there anybody else who wants to chime in here before we wrap up? I know John's Shaughnessy, you're on the call. Did you want to? There's another person who knew Monica well over the years, but there you go. John? you want to go on camera, or are you good with just voice?
Oh, sure, you can put me on camera.
Here we go. I'm promoting you, promoting you to camera. Maybe this is
Maybe.
slow promotion. Got to work your way up through the ranks.
I could use a little career boost, Bob.
It's supposed to be. I don't know why this takes so long to do. In theory,
here
you've
we
been
go.
promoted. We can hear you. Okay. You have to do something. There you go.
All
There
right.
you go. Hey, John.
There.
Good to see you.
Nice to see you, Bob, and nice to see everybody. Actually, I wanted to mention briefly a Monica memory that you talked about, Bob, and this one is props to Gretchen, but it was the night that the four of us had dinner and sort of innocently found ourselves over in Times Square, and we're counting down the minutes because I think Gretchen can confirm this, but we had a time frame for when Monica's picture was going to go up on the screens on Times Square with the message, and so we just happened to be hanging out on the sidewalk when the picture went up, and it was just a wonderful moment, and one that I think only Gretchen could have pulled off. But the great thing about it was to consider, Monica cast this long shadow over, everything. She was just larger than life in every way, and to see her, that the smiling mug beaming down from the big screens on Times Square was just a perfect way to celebrate everything that she meant to us and in our work with her, and then I think just everything that she loved about New York. She was such a big fan of New York, and so it was really cool to be there with her and with you and with Gretchen to see that one happen when it did. It was really just a fun moment.
That was a great moment. That was her retirement from Legal Tech News, and I forget, it must have been right in the middle of Legal Tech. I think that happened. Or there was also a party. Actually, speaking of John Ternenik, I think Catalyst actually helped throw a party for her at Legal Tech that year when she retired. So it was a wonderful celebration. Quite a surprise. That's right, Ternenik. Well, yeah. He's always in the band. He's the drummer. But that's right. Well, John, that's great. Thanks so much for taking the time to share that.
Well, thank you.
I know you didn't say it, but for people who don't know, you were at Thomson Reuters at the time, as was Gretchen.
Yeah.
And so a lot of people will know you, but some on the call may not know that.
Yeah. Yeah, and she was always kind, even to PR people. Yeah.
As long as you didn't say solution, you could get away with it. All right, John, thanks so much. Good to see you. Yeah, I'm going to demote you back to an audience member.
Okay.
Am I going to do that? Why am I having trouble with this?
You need a solution for how to demote people?
I do. There we go. I was looking for the word demote. All right, John, you should be disappearing now. All right. Was there anybody else? I mean, we may not get to the week stories this week, but that's okay. I think this has been good to have this conversation and allow people to talk about Monica. Any other hand raises coming up? I don't see any others. I can say I know that there are plans being made for memorial services, but as far as I know, they are not written in stone yet. Yeah, Jeff Brandt said Monica is all the stories this week. But there will be something on the West Coast, and there will be something on the East Coast in New York, possibly at the Hilton, which, believe it or not, was Monica's favorite hotel. You know, she can't be perfect in every way. I don't know.
Yeah, I was gonna say, why introduce a failing now?
But stay tuned for that.
Well, it's like
I'll
how we all love
certainly-
the Hyatt. It's like how we all love the Hyatt Regency in Chicago,
Exactly.
right?
Yeah, we all love the Hyatt.
No one does.
Yeah. Well, maybe we're better off to just kind of leave it at this point rather than trying to get into any of the week's news, because none of it kind of matters much in the face of what we've been talking about here.
Yeah.
Wait a minute. What's this photo that John just sent? I don't see it. See if it's something. Oh yeah, I've got that photo too, but I'll put that up on my blog or something. Maybe I'll put some more photos up if people send some photos. All right. Well, any other thoughts or closing words or words of wisdom or anything else from any of you folks? David, our chat says, since you're a special guest this week,
Yeah,
and a special friend
yeah,
of Monica's,
people-
you should close.
People
this
want to
out,
hear
Melissa.
more from David.
You're muted. David, muted.
Sorry about that. I was about to say, I don't know about that, Joe or Laura, but Bob. Gee, let me think. God, there's so many from which to choose. Let me think. Give me 30 seconds while you're talking about something else, Bob. I'm trying to think which one.
Or just
There's so many that I don't know if Monica would want me to share them. But
yeah.
We already heard about her sleeping with Trident. So
well,
So what-
yeah, you know what
and doing cocaine with John Bream. So I mean, we're all downhill from here.
Well, yeah, I mean, to keep it PG, how many people had Pete's Coffee with Monica, and how many of them had ever heard of Pete's Coffee other than people from San Francisco? And you know, we talked about Monica's love for the Yankees. The San Francisco Giants were a close second, and we should also
I mean, you called them the New York Giants earlier.
I know, exactly. Whoops on me. But you know, Victor mentioned this earlier. Monica's brother, Bill Bay, what a hero in this whole thing. You ever heard Monica? It was interesting. I'll tell you a great. All right, one more great Monica story, but let me finish. Bill Bay, Monica's brother, always the all-star to Monica, and they were both big San Francisco Giants fans together until Monica turned to the evil empire and the dark side. But if any of you are Law and Order or Broadway fans, you may have heard of Elaine Stritch. Elaine Stritch was a guest on Law and Order for many years. He was the flamboyant defense attorney who was always battling with Jack McCoy. She was great. She also had a one-man-woman show on Broadway. She was on Ladies Who Lunch, I guess, back in the 60s. Anyway, Monica, she was Monica's aunt or cousin. No, her aunt. And by the way, here's a fun fact. I don't think she would mind my telling you. Monica Bay is Monica Bay as in Bay's English muffins. And so Elaine Stritch was also part of this family. So we actually got to meet Elaine Stritch backstage one time. And Monica was like, oh, she's going to think I'm some off cousin she's never heard of. But Elaine Stritch could not have been more gracious. Monica, in that raspy Elaine Stritch voice. Monica! I'm like, wow, that's cool. So I got to meet Elaine Stritch through Monica.
And a whole bunch of good English muffins too.
Yeah, there you go. Oh, United Airlines. How did we get through this hour without talking about Monica and her love for United Airlines? Spilling more personal stories. Monica's dad was a pilot for United. Monica's mom was a flight attendant for United. And Monica was 1K on United. That's what you get when you fly 18 million miles. And Monica enjoyed that status. And she used to call it the 1K shuffle, because if you had 1K status, you'd shuffle toward the front so you could get on first, so people couldn't get their overhead baggage in before yours.
Right. That was back in the days when people liked United.
Yeah. Oh, and Victor had a good one too. She was Alec Baldwin's mom on 30 Rock. Who could forget that? Thanks, Victor.
Elaine Stritch was, not Monica.
Right.
I think Monica could have pulled it off, though. I think she could have pulled it off. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Monica was in the original cast of Friends, I think.
Yeah.
No, all right. Well, this has really been great. I really appreciate all the folks in the audience here who took some time to share their memories, and thanks to all of you folks on the panel here for sharing your memories and for also being not getting the chance to share your own stories this week. But we'll get back to that next week and get back to the usual course of things. Until then. I think that does it for this week's show. Thanks to everybody again, and we'll be back next week, and maybe we'll talk about actual news next week. Who knows?
Here's to Monica.
Here's to Monica.
Thanks for putting this together, Bob.
Yep.
Yeah, thanks. Bye.
Bye, everyone.
See y'all.